Have you ever walked past someone so ordinary that your eyes barely noticed they were there? He scrubbed floors in silence. He ate lunch alone. He rode the same second-hand bicycle to work every day, rain or shine. For over 4 decades, no one asked about his dreams. No one ever wondered what Walter James did when the school bell stopped ringing. But one quiet afternoon, the world discovered a secret even his closest neighbors didn't see coming. The janitor, the same man they ignored, pitted, even mocked, was a multimillionaire. Not by luck, not by lottery, but by something far more powerful. How does a man with no formal education, no high-income job, and no connections to the elite retire with over $8 million? This is the unbelievable, emotional, and inspiring story of Walter James, a man who quietly unlocked the formula to freedom and showed the world that you don't need to be born rich to die wealthy. Walter James was born in 1932 in the small, forgotten town of Brooksville, Ohio, a town where everyone knew each other by name, but few knew each other's pain. The Great Depression had left deep scars on his family. His father, a coal miner, lost his life in a cave-in when Walter was just 7. His mother, a soft-spoken woman with tired eyes, worked endlessly washing clothes, scrubbing floors, and sewing for others to survive. They never had much, but she taught Walter something more valuable than money: humility, patience, and the strength to carry on even when the world feels like it's caving in. Walter didn't grow up with toys or birthday parties. He grew up with hand-me-downs and hard truths. At 17, he dropped out of school to take care of his mother. He picked up a janitor job at Brooksville High School. It was supposed to be temporary, but days turned into months. Months turned into years. And somehow, 41 years later, he was still there, still pushing the mop, still fixing broken windows, still smiling as if he knew something the rest of the world didn't. Most assumed he had nothing. He lived in the same creaky 2-bedroom home his parents left behind. His clothes looked decades old. He packed peanut butter sandwiches every single day for lunch. But behind that simple life was a fierce learner. Every night after work, Walter walked to the public library. He didn't own a television. He didn't need one. Instead, he devoured books. Not just any books, investment books, biographies of successful entrepreneurs, and anything related to personal finance and human psychology. It started with one book, The Richest Man in Babylon. He was hooked. He read about compound interest and how money, if nurtured like a tree, could grow into a forest. He studied the habits of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and took handwritten notes in a tattered composition notebook he carried everywhere. At 25, Walter opened a modest brokerage account. No one taught him how. He learned by asking questions, watching interviews, and listening to cassette tapes on finance. He didn't trade often. He didn't chase trends. He picked companies that made things people needed: soap, soda, insurance, energy. Then he held them. For decades, every paycheck, Walter set aside 30%. He pretended it didn't exist. He called it his freedom tax. While others upgraded their cars, Walter patched his tires. While others went on vacations, Walter watered his garden. People whispered behind his back, "Poor guy never lived. Bet he regrets not enjoying life." But Walter wasn't just living. He was building. At 50, his investments surpassed $400,000. At 60, they crossed $1.1 million. By the time he reached 87, his net worth quietly reached $8.3 million. Not a single soul in town knew. Not until a routine financial audit at the local credit union flagged an unusual portfolio size. When the bank called him in, they assumed it was a case of identity theft. But Walter simply chuckled and said, "I started planting seeds a long time ago. I guess they grew while no one was watching." The news spread like wildfire. Journalists, students, neighbors, all in disbelief. Everyone asked the same question: why didn't you ever spend it? Walter's answer was simple: because real wealth isn't about spending, it's about choosing. I chose peace. I chose purpose. Instead of buying a mansion, Walter rebuilt the local library. Instead of driving a luxury car, he funded scholarships for underprivileged kids. He started free weekend classes, teaching young people about investing. He spoke not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. He told them, if you learn to master your impulses, understand your money, and ignore the noise, you'll win in ways others can't imagine. Walter didn't want to be remembered for being rich. He wanted to be remembered for being useful. Walter James lived in the shadows for most of his life. But when the spotlight finally found him, he didn't flinch. He stood as a symbol of what's possible when patience meets purpose. He never sought attention. He sought freedom. Freedom from debt. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom to wake up and say, today, I choose what matters. So what can you learn from Walter James? That it doesn't matter where you start. That your job doesn't define your future. That the size of your salary doesn't determine your destiny. Wealth is built in silence, in sacrifice, in consistency, and sometimes the richest soul in town is the one you never thought to look at twice. Walter saw what others didn't, and maybe now you do too. The question is, what will you do with that vision?